Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello, good morning, welcome back to the channel where today you join me in London with the newest Shmee-mobile, my Suzuki Jimny. Now I'm sure the question is on the minds of many of you guys. Why have I decided to buy this quirky little rugged off-roading beast? Well, today I'm going to take it out for a drive. We've got to put some run-in mileage on the car, of course, kind of like a fuel for thought, and I'll let you know exactly the reasons, as well as some of the plans and interesting ideas that I have for it in the future. But first though, I want to take you on a little induction tour, introduce the spec of my car, then we'll go out for a drive and find out why I bought a Suzuki Jimny. When it's parked up on its own like this, you don't quite get a sense for just how small a Jimny actually is. And remember, here in London, we've got some pretty small parking spaces and plenty of very tight and narrow roads. So a car like this, that's very thin, also quite short in terms of the wheelbase, but has the raised up SUV seating position, actually blends right in. And saying that, quite amusingly, here in Regent's Park, it's actually almost a little bit camouflaged in the Kinetic Yellow paintwork as well. Now the entire car, the length of it, is only just over 3.5 meters. To put that into perspective, an old classic Mini is only just over 3 meters. A normal SUV would be verging on 5 meters. This thing is minuscule. Officially, it's a 4-seater, 2 up front and 2 in the rear, but realistically, you keep those rear seats folded down, which gives you a little bit more luggage space. Now, my car is what they call an SZ5 specification. There are 2 options. SZ4 is the standard. SZ5 costs a couple of £1,000s more. This car is about £18,500, but it gives you a lot more optional specification as standard and also more different colour options. So Kinetic Yellow is one of the 6 different options that you can have on an SZ5. Only 3 of those are available on the SZ4, and you can also get the dual tone by having a black roof as well, which goes nicely with the black mirrors and lots of the satin black or plastic parts around the bits of the bodywork. It is all back to basics. The Jimny is about rugged off-road use based on a ladder frame, lots of capability, lots of movement, lots of ground clearance. In fact, even if you just have a quick look under it here, you can see how nothing really hangs down. You can get over just about anything. It comes on some beefy off-roading tyres. We've got the 15-inch alloy wheels. That's part of the SZ5. But most of what you get with the SZ5 is in terms of the technology on the interior, having the navigation system, Bluetooth, heated seats. What else do we have? There's a brake sensing camera. You've got some, I guess, fairly decent spec actually when you consider the entry price tag point of the car. Of course, lots of it is very simple and easy as you would expect. It's quite mechanical. It's also quite old school. You can see there the seats are actually up at the moment, but you can pull this, tuck them back down. That gives you this extra space in the rear. You can only climb into the back from the passenger side. The front seat doesn't go forward in the way that the passenger seat does, I guess saving some money as well. And this car is a 5-speed manual. You can get it with a 4-speed auto, but I didn't really fancy a 4-speed auto. I felt in the current era that's not really enough, even though it's only a 100 odd horsepower engine up front. Back here you've got a storage bucket. You can actually remove this entire piece, and then under there is where you've got your toolkit, your jacking points and everything that you might need. That goes back in, but everything, well, I mean literally almost straight through to the panels of the exterior. It is functional. It is all about working, and that's why, I don't know, it's just quite fun to get to experience and use. You got things like the grab handle here. You can see the touchscreen that you have in the center for your infotainment, your keys here for the what do you call them? The heated seats, I should know that. Handbrake, manual handbrake. Yeah, all pretty self-explanatory. Up front, it's a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder engine. I'm just going to come around and open this up quickly. I think it's probably down here somewhere. Yep, there we go. See if I can work this out as we go. Ping round and see if I can find the catch as well. Give me one moment. There we go. Lift that up. You can see there's actually quite a lot of space available in there. Mechanical, old school. It feels like you could actually work on this car yourself, which is something in the modern era that doesn't really exist very often. Obviously, that's quite a heavy bonnet, but we'll latch it back down. In terms of looks, you've got the boxy shape. Everybody refers to it as a mini G-Wagon because it has that presence, that style, that very vertical front window, completely redesigned from the previous generation Jimny. This is now the 4th gen Jimny actually, hence in a way why we've got the 14, the 4 on my Shmee number plate. 4 for 4-wheel drive, 4 for 4th gen Jimny as well. But the look of the round headlights, I think the style of it is just cool. So let me come round and take a step inside. I've got the key for the car here, Suzuki key, buttons on the back for locking and unlocking. Take a step inside, key goes in, of course the old school style, in and turn it on. So you've actually got a little display there on the dashboard. Of course, doesn't exactly go up very far, 110 miles, what are we, 110 miles per hour at the top end. Yeah, I think it only goes to about 90, so I don't think we're going to be getting that out of it. And I've already put 117 miles on the dash. But you've actually got Apple CarPlay we had up on here as well, which is cool. You've got climate control, so it's actually, you know, decently equipped. You've got a multi-function steering wheel. So let's take it out then now for a little drive and have more thoughts about why did I go for this? Now, before I drive anywhere, there is something about the Jimny which is amusing me an awful lot. I'm definitely a big kid. So this thing doesn't weigh very much, it's about 1,135 kilos, I think. And of course, it's narrow and quite tall. And what that means is if you rock from side to side, the entire car rocks quite dramatically. It's not the most dynamic steering in the world, of course, but that's not what this is for at all. This is a car that, for driving at 30 miles an hour around the centre of London, is great. And also, I'm led to believe for driving off-road is pretty great too. So I certainly want to experience that at some point. But into gear, let's go. Handbrake off. Let's just go for a short little drive. And I tell you one thing I'm not quite used to. The bite point for the clutch is really high, and when you're driving sports cars, of course it all happens in a very small little area, so it's quite sensitive. In here, it's really quite washy, which is taking me some getting used to. And there's a G63, and yeah, I feel tiny compared to that thing, and I cannot wait as well for mine to arrive in a couple of months. But basically, I'm just going to go for, I think as I always say, a little pootle around the block. We're in Regent's Park, in the centre of London. You can feel the lean, even just turning at quite a slow speed. You can feel the way the car kind of leans over, but we'll head on around. You get the point. I mean, I'm in third gear. I find you go up gears really quickly, like fourth or fifth gear, way before you think you would want to be in it, especially when you consider that it's driving a manual. I don't think it has stop-start. Of course, I've not put my foot down to the floor yet at any point because, well, there's no point. It's being run in and it's not going to be fast anyway. I think 0 to 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour is, well, there doesn't seem to be a clear answer, but it's going to be something like 13 or 14 seconds. It's not a fast car. And then onto the top speed, which is officially quoted at 87 miles per hour. But it is decently quiet inside the cabin. Okay, we've got the air conditioning running. Turn that down. You know, you barely hear the engine. You barely hear the engine at all. Oh, don't want quite so much air. And maybe that's why it's weird when driving the manual, because you can't hear. You're doing it all by feel. So I will confess, I have actually stalled the car. You didn't hear that from me, not today, but already. This is where, though, when you go around a tight corner, the steering wheel just takes some getting used to because it weighs nothing and you have to turn it quite far. But honestly, for driving around normal city environment, one of the reasons SUVs are so popular, if you think about this, is because you have this high up position. You have practicality relative to the amount of space it takes up on the floor, but also you have a great view of everything around you just because you're higher. And certainly here, I've noticed this already versus the more traditional sports cars and supercars that I expect, or I think you expect to see on the channel. There's a very, very, very big difference when you're driving around a city centre in a car where you can actually see things versus one where you're right down towards the tarmac. Brake feel is good, solid, nice. Throttle feel, everything, to be honest, is really pretty good. Just gotta watch out for cyclists. There are a lot of cyclists around today, and he totally pulled out of that junction in front of that car. Anyways, just watch out, be careful. 3,500 RPM there. Feel that power, Jimny power. So I was adamant it had to be a bright green Jimny. This is the launch specification. It's actually a really nice blue. Of course, I think you can have it in black and white and a couple of others. But the green yellow, I don't know what we're calling it, for me was the ultimate. And to be honest, with all these guys going around in the high-vis jackets, it's a very, very similar colour. They call it Kinetic Yellow, but I really think it's one of those things where, honestly, it's a little bit more towards green tint than it is towards yellow. But there's a lot of love as well for the Jimny. People look at it and people are interested in it. I think this is one of those cars that just has character. That's what I said in my collection video. It has charm and character that so many cars don't have. And if you've been following my channel for a while, about 5 years ago, I had a Morgan three-wheeler, which was the quirkiest thing ever, but I loved driving it in town. Then more recently, for a year and a half or so, I had a Classic Mini. I had one of the last 2001 Classic Mini, and similarly, I enjoyed the way you could just park it small, easy to get around, and people were amused by it. People like it, old people love it, kids love it. And I think the Jimny does that as well. Supercars are polarising. And for driving around London, let's be real, supercars are silly. They're too expensive if something happens. They're too awkward to drive. And the potential of the car is just being wasted by clocking up miles driving around town. So yes, I will sometimes, but normally I prefer to take an Uber, the train, the underground, the bus, whatever, rather than driving in a silly car. Unless I've got something like this available. And you know I love my Focus RSs. I've done so much with those. But I like different driving experiences, and when this came out, I looked at it and I thought, hey, that's cool. What Suzuki have done with that thing, with the Jimny, I don't know how they've done this, but they've made it just look awesome. And then the tuners got their hands on it. The guys making body kits, and you had, for example, a Jimny that looked like a G-Wagon, the older G-Wagon. Then you had Jimny that looked like a Defender. Now you've got Jimnys that look like new G63s, and they just are super cool. And that is definitely leading me astray and giving me ideas for what maybe we should do with this. I'm not sure what I can do with this power-wise. Maybe give it a touch more, but I think it's not really the right chassis to have a lot of power. But what about modifications to the visual side of things? What about making the appearance a little bit more dramatic, we could say, a little bit more unique? Now, the interesting thing as well in the UK about the Jimny is it's actually really hard to get a hold of. I put my name down for this ages ago, absolutely ages ago now, and I think they're about 600 in the first year distribution for the UK maybe. And when you think about the type of car and the price point, 600 units is not a whole lot. They are very highly sought after. And I actually had a quick look at the classifieds, and they're trading at a premium. A Suzuki Jimny is trading at a premium, R8 going the other way, which is just absurd, but it's somehow happening. That's the world we live in. Supply versus demand, hey, simple economics. So there's a lot of people after these things, and I was very lucky that I put my name in so early. I wanted SZ5 in Kinetic Yellow, which most people didn't. Most people wanted the SZ4s in black or white. So this was quite hard, a bit easier for me to get my hands on and to be able to get an allocation for. And the guys at Glyn Hopkin Suzuki in Watford super helped out with this, and made sure the PDI could be done just in time for me to collect the car before I have to embark on my next adventure. But yeah, I went for it. I thought, why not? Give it a go, share the video, share some of the experience with you guys as well, because at the end of the day, that's a lot of what this channel is about. I want to give you my different experiences, and I don't want it to always be the top end of hypercars, you know. I want to be able to try different types of cars, from the Senna at the top, to the GT and the LT, to the GTA, to proper sports car, to the Supra, to modifying my Focus RS, to having the stock RS as well. And I think the diversification of different cars, I hope you think this as well on the Shimmy 150 channel, is one of the interesting things about it, because do you know, honestly, in the right environment, you can have as much fun with something like this as you can in the Senna. And honestly, to go around town in this, you just ride over those bumps, where at the Senna I'll be panicking about where's the lift system, let's get it up, let's make sure we're not scraping. And it's not all about top trumps. It's not all about how fast it goes, it's about how much fun it has. Now, given I'm mixing a few videos into one here, induction tour, here's why I bought it, let's have some things I love and some things I hate about it. And something I really hate is the lack of space here. There's nowhere to put your elbow next to the door. It's too narrow, it's too small. There's no armrest on the other side. So your arms are, well, I mean, they hold the wheel, right? It's a nice comfortable wheel, it feels good as well. But you don't really have much room. Another thing I don't really like too much, the roof liner. It's like paper. It's not good. It's not nice at all. But then this is an £18,500 car, gotta be fair to it. Of course, I'd like it to have a bit more power as well. It's not exactly filled with go. What I really like about it though is, I've just said it, the character, the charm of the car, the fun of the car, the looks of the car, what its purpose is. You know, it's another one of these cars that has such a specific purpose, but if you use it for that purpose, in this case serious off-roading, it's about as good as they get. And yeah, we're not off-roading right here. Maybe we could try driving up there, but that would probably be quite frowned upon, so let's not do that. But you know, it chugs along. It's got hill descent control, for crying out loud. It's got hill descent control in the Jimny. We've got low range. We've got, well, so I'm driving at the moment in two-wheel drive, but you can pop it into four-wheel drive, and then you can pop it into four-wheel drive low range with the lever down next to the gear stick. It's got just I don't know, for this kind of purpose, for going around town, it's got something fun about it, a story about it, without being over the top. And you know, just, it's enough power, it pulls along, it does its thing, and it's going to look at some point quite dramatically different potentially. So plans ahead. Of course, the car has arrived just when I'm about to set off on a big trip, which does mean that I'm rather limited in what I can do with it immediately, but I am going to do some stuff with it later this year. When I get back to the UK, that's when the fun can really start to begin. I'll need to get some more miles on it, up to 120 miles now. Another G63, they are everywhere in London. When I've got some more miles on it, then we can really start to open it up. But I think for the time being, I'm going to leave it there. First, little insight into the Jimny. I'm sorry for waffling on a fair bit, but I wanted to give you a little more of a feel about this car and why, because, you know, I've just bought it, I've just added it to the garage. I know it's an oddball choice, a bit like the Mini was, a bit like the three-wheeler was, but hey, it's here, it's going to be hanging around for a bit, and we're going to be doing some fun things with it. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the Suzuki Jimny. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's a total waste of time? But as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I will see you again next time. So thanks again. Cheers.